Hello, friends. How's your English today? Welcome back to Daily English Pod, where we learn English step by step. Today, we're going to talk about how to describe food in English, and we'll show you some easy ways to use these phrases in real life. Emmy, hello. How are you today?
Hello. I am very good. Thank you. How are you?
I'm also very good.
Yeah.
I'm feeling calm, and I'm ready to talk about food.
Me too.
This is a really fun topic, and I think a very, very useful topic for all of our listeners.
Yes. Food is everywhere, so these words are important.
Okay, so let's unpack this. The mission for this deep dive. It might sound simple, just learning words for food, but we want to take this far beyond just basic vocabulary.
Right.
Our mission today is really to uncover why English speakers can sometimes be so terrible at describing what they eat.
Right.
We're pulling from linguistic journals, from culinary history, even some sensory psychology research to find the precise language that helps us get past just saying something is good.
Or delicious.
Exactly.
And when you look at the sources we have, the really fascinating thing is that English, even with its huge vocabulary, it kind of struggles when we try to talk about the specific pleasure of food.
Yeah, the mechanism of flavor.
The mechanism of flavor. Yeah, we have this failure to integrate the language of texture and sensation. So if you want to sound well-informed, you have to get specific.
Right. If you're maybe in a culinary meeting or you just want to sound a bit more educated when you review a restaurant online, you just can't keep relying on those simple adjectives that, a 5-year-old might use. We're aiming for linguistic nuance here.
Okay.
So let's start with maybe the most overused word in the whole culinary world, according to one of our key sources. The word delicious.
Ah, yes. Delicious.
So we have this really interesting piece of research that argues delicious is, linguistically speaking, a dead word.
A dead word.
Wow.
Yeah.
It's the ultimate cop-out. It tells the listener absolutely nothing about the food itself.
Only that you liked it. Vaguely.
Exactly.
Yep.
It's the linguistic equivalent of just shrugging.
That's a great way to put it. And what's fascinating is that historically, delicious was a powerful word. It was linked to delight, to luxury.
Right.
But now, just from overuse, it's become a filler word. I mean, you see it in reviews, you hear it in conversation. So that someone says a meal was delicious, and you still don't know anything.
Nothing. Was the meat perfectly seasoned?
Were the vegetables crispy? Was the sauce complex?
You have no idea. It's just a blanket statement. And if you really stop to analyze it, it just proves a failure of, articulation. If someone asks you, how does the soup taste? And your answer is, it's delicious. You are avoiding the complexity. You're avoiding the linguistic effort.
Right.
So to move past this, we need to introduce precision in 2 areas. True taste and what we'll call integrated flavor.
And this is such a crucial distinction. It's fundamental. When we say taste, we are scientifically talking about what happens on your tongue. The sensory reception, those 5 core established tastes. But when we talk about flavor, we're talking about our multisensory experience.
So not just the tongue.
Not at all. 80% or even more of flavor is actually coming from smell, from olfaction. And that's integrated with temperature, with texture, and then with taste.
That is fascinating. So a sophisticated speaker really understands that when they say, this tastes like lemon, they're combining 2 things.
Exactly.
The sour sensation, which is the taste on the tongue.
That puckering feeling.
Yeah. And the recognizable olfactory profile, the smell of the fruit. That's the flavor.
But English just collapses them into one word, and that's where we lose all the precision.
So to immediately upgrade your vocabulary, here's the tip. Use the simple core tastes, not as the final description, but as components.
Okay, so for example?
For example, don't say, the salad is flavorful.
Right, that's too vague.
Instead, you could say, the salad features a delightful blend of sour citrus notes and a surprising hint of bitter arugula.
Oh, that sounds so much more informed.
It really does.
Yeah.
So let's just focus for a moment on those foundational tastes that I think people often forget exist beyond just sweet and salty.
Okay, let's do it.
So everyone knows sweet.
Like sugar or candy.
And everyone knows salty.
Like salt.
Right.
Okay.
But the real complexity, especially in cooking, often involves balancing the other 2, sour and bitter.
Yes. Sourness comes from acidity. So think of lemon juice, vinegar, maybe some unripe fruit. It's that puckering sensation.
Right. So if you're describing a complex dish, saying something like, the dish needed a bit more sourness to cut through the richness.
That's a fantastic advanced description. It shows you really understand balance in food.
Okay, and then there's bitter. Now, many cultures, especially in the West, we have an instinct to reduce bitterness.
Because it can signal poison, historically?
Exactly. But in sophisticated food, bitterness is actually crucial. Think of dark chocolate or coffee.
Or some beers, strong greens, like kale.
Right. So when you encounter bitterness, you shouldn't just call it bad. You should articulate its role. What is it doing in the dish?
And we can use some really great descriptive adjectives here. Instead of just saying bitter, you could say the wine has acerbic notes.
Acerbic, I like that.
Or that the greens are pleasantly pungent. This shows the bitterness is there on purpose. It's part of the profile, not a mistake.
This is where we hit, I think, the true nugget of modern food language, and that is umami,
Ah, the fifth taste.
the fifth taste. It's often translated as savory or meaty, and it comes from glutamate. It's that feeling of depth, of richness, satisfaction.
And umami is probably the hardest one to describe using traditional English words.
Why is that?
Well, because it wasn't officially recognized as a core taste until the early 2000s.
Wow, that recently.
Yep. Even though we've been eating it forever. It's in cheeses, mushrooms, cured meats, soy sauce.
So if you want to sound incredibly informed, you should focus on describing the effect of umami, not just labeling it.
What do you mean by the effect?
Well, you could say something like, the broth had incredible depth and a long, lingering savoriness that coated the tongue.
Ah, you're describing what it does.
Exactly. Or you could just say, the dish was incredibly meaty and satisfying due to its high umami content. That shows you understand the actual flavor chemistry.
Okay, that makes sense.
Now, when people describe food, they almost always focus on those 5 tastes. But they ignore something that is often way more important.
You're talking about texture.
I am. Texture, or what the industry calls mouthfeel, this is often what truly defines the experience.
Absolutely. And our sources break down mouthfeel into, what, 7 distinct categories? It's so much more than just...
Just crunchy.
Right. If you only use crunchy, you are limiting yourself so much.
Crunchy is a great word,
Yeah.
but it just describes one thing, a rigid, loud sound when you bite, like a carrot or a chip.
But we need to talk about things that are much more subtle.
Okay, so let's try to categorize some of these more advanced texture terms.
Yeah.
We can start with viscosity.
Viscosity. So that relates to the thickness and the flow of liquids or semi-solids.
Exactly. So if something has high viscosity, you might use words like,
Velvety, silken, creamy, or maybe oily.
right, think of a well-made hollandaise sauce or a really thick soup. Saying the sauce was velvety and rich is so much better than the sauce was delicious.
Oh. It is. You're describing the specific mouthfeel that makes it pleasurable.
And what if it has low viscosity? So it flows very easily.
Then you might describe it as watery or thin, and those aren't always criticisms.
That's a good point.
For example, you could say, I appreciate how thin and brothy this consommé is. It really highlights the subtle flavor.
Okay, next category. Let's look at turgidity. That's a technical sounding word.
It is. It just refers to the rigidity or the firmness of the food, especially in vegetables.
So instead of crunchy, for a vegetable, you might say.
You could use crisp, which suggests a certain snap and freshness,
Yeah.
or rigid, or maybe even brittle if it shatters easily.
And on the other hand, if something is too soft.
Then you might call it flaccid, or the word nobody wants to hear, soggy.
Right. A great example is a piece of toast. If it's perfect, you might call it crisp or even shattering. But if it's underdone, you'd call it doughy or spongy. Those are texture words that immediately tell you about the quality of the meal.
And this leads to another really useful shortcut that professional reviewers use.
Okay.
They integrate the preparation method right into the flavor description. Because how something is cooked fundamentally changes its mouthfeel and its taste profile.
Ah, that's a massive upgrade from just asking, is the food good? You're showing you understand technique.
Exactly. Think about meat or vegetables.
Okay, so if a piece of meat has been cooked very slowly in liquid, you don't just say it's tender.
Right. You say it was braised,
The pork was beautifully braised.
resulting in a succulent and fall-apart texture.
See, that paints a whole picture. Or with a steak. If it has that strong, smoky surface, you wouldn't just say cooked well.
No, you'd use words like seared, charred, or caramelized.
So you could say, the charred edges of the steak added a pleasingly bitter and smoky note.
And in that one sentence, you've combined preparation, flavor, and texture. It's so efficient.
Let's practice a few more of these preparation-link adjectives.
Okay.
If food is fried very quickly and lightly,
You might call it tempura battered or simply lightly fried. The goal there is a delicate crunch.
A delicate crunch. I like that. And if something is very dry and cooked for a long time in a hot oven.
Then you would describe it as roasted. That gives it a deeply browned or a toasted kind of flavor.
And this all leads us to the idea of complex, or what we'll call integrated adjectives. We're no longer just describing what the food is.
We're describing how it interacts with you, the person eating it.
Right. We need words that can convey complexity and also duration. Food description isn't just about the first bite, is it?
Not at all. It's about the whole experience. And one of the most useful concepts here is the finish or the aftertaste.
So that describes how long the flavor lasts after you swallow.
Is it short and clean or is it long and complex?
Okay, so the flavor disappears quickly. You might say the finish is clean or short.
Exactly. And if it stays with you, you could describe it as lingering, persistent, or warming.
For example, the chili had a warming, persistent spice that gradually faded.
That's perfect. Another really crucial category is describing the aromatic intensity. Is the food loud or is it subtle?
Loud or subtle? Okay, so if the food has a strong, pungent aroma, you could use words like,
Fragrant, aromatic, or pungent.
and if the dish is heavily spiced.
You might describe it as herbaceous, meaning full of herbs, or earthy, like mushrooms or root vegetables.
And what about the other side, if the flavor is very delicate?
Then you'd use words like subtle, nuanced, or even ethereal. It indicates that the flavor requires your close attention to appreciate it.
Okay, let's try to pull all of these threads together. When we ask, how does it taste? The old simple answer was, it tastes delicious.
Right.
The new informed answer should be a full descriptive phrase. It should combine texture, taste, and duration.
So an example would be something like, the taste is initially sweet and sour,
Okay.
quickly balanced by the velvety texture of the sauce,
Mm-hmm.
leaving a long, warming spice on the finish.
Wow. You can see the difference, can't you? We just moved from a kindergarten-level conversation to expert analysis.
It's a huge leap.
So now that we have all this vocabulary, how do we actually use it in a conversation? We learned the back trays, what is your favorite food? But let's upgrade that.
Yes. Instead of asking for an absolute favorite, which, as you said, can feel a bit childish or reductive,
Right.
you can ask about a current preference or maybe a recent culinary high point.
So try asking this instead. What's the most memorable meal you've had recently?
Ooh, that's a good one. Or what flavor profile are you craving right now?
And if someone asks you that, you need a way to answer using this new vocabulary. You can introduce your answer with phrases like,
You could say, I've been seeking out dishes with a strong earthy character lately, maybe some slow-cooked mushrooms.
or, I am specifically enjoying food that balances crisp texture with high acidity right now.
See, that's a dynamic, really engaging conversation.
And remember the word preference. You can ask, do you prefer food that is very spicy or something more nuanced? It opens up a real discussion.
It does. And this can also apply to ordering food.
Right.
We covered that very polite but basic phrase, can I have, which is essential for any beginner. But if you're dining somewhere a bit more informed, you might need to make a specific request.
A request based on preparation or seasoning.
Exactly. So instead of just ordering, you're actually commenting on the execution of the dish.
Okay, so for instance, if you prefer less salt, you can't just complain that it is too salty. You need to request it before it's made.
And the key polite structure is still there. You can say, could I request? Or I would prefer if the chef could.
So, for example, could I request that the vegetables are cooked al dente
Meaning slightly firm.
rather than soft?
Perfect. Or if you know a certain cuisine uses a lot of oil, you could say,
Yeah.
I would prefer if the fish were pan-seared rather than heavily oiled.
You're specifying the method, not just the result. And that shows confidence.
It really does. It shows you know enough about food preparation to articulate exactly what you want. You're moving past just being a consumer.
And this applies to drinks, too. Instead of, is the wine good, you can ask about its characteristics.
Right, like does the white wine have an oaky profile or is it more fruity and acidic? That shows a much deeper engagement.
You know, one of the most fascinating linguistic nuggets we found in the sources is how often English has to rely on metaphor or comparison. Other languages have dedicated specific words for sensory experiences that we just lack.
It really highlights the constraints of our own language, doesn't it?
It does. Think about the texture of fat.
Okay.
We use these vague terms like fatty or oily,
Mm.
and they often have a negative connotation.
They do, but languages in cultures that really celebrate fat, like many Southeast Asian cuisines, they have more precise terms
For what, specifically?
for the texture of rendered fat or the richness of bone marrow or that delicate melt of intramuscular fat in a piece of meat.
So in English, we have to invent phrases like melts in your mouth.
Exactly. It's a high-level metaphor we use to describe a specific low-temperature viscosity. That exact moment, a solid fat becomes liquid on your palate.
That's a great example.
The Japanese concept of koku is another one. It's often related to richness, depth, and the duration of flavor. It's more than just umami.
So it's that sense of satisfaction and fullness.
Yes. And we often translate it crudely as full-bodied or robust, but the translation loses that specific cultural and sensory meaning.
So understanding this gap in our language is crucial. It tells us that when English fails, we have to combine multiple adjectives to be precise.
We can't rely on a single word like delicious.
Because those specific, precise sensory words often just don't exist in our lexicon.
And since English lacks some of those specific single words, we often have to turn to descriptive language that connects the food back to memory or emotion or experience.
This is where you can be really evocative, can't you?
Yeah, we call it sensory integration. Instead of just describing the literal taste, you describe the feeling it evokes.
So you might say a dish is comforting
Or nostalgic.
if it reminds you of home or your childhood.
Right. Or if the food is incredibly refined and surprising, you could call it challenging or even intellectual.
An example of that would be, this dessert is surprisingly challenging. The saltiness pushes against the sweetness in a way that makes you stop and think about the flavors.
That is a high-level critique, and it's using emotional vocabulary.
You can also describe food in terms of its perceived health or freshness.
Yes, descriptors like bright, vibrant, clean, or refreshing, they all imply high-quality ingredients and preparation, even if they aren't literal taste words.
The most advanced English speaker knows how to mix all these categories together. They don't just say, the cake is sweet.
No, they'd say something like, the cake is sweet and deeply moist, with a surprising bright acidity from the citrus glaze.
Making it incredibly refreshing.
Exactly.
Okay, so to help you synthesize this massive amount of vocabulary, let's establish a simple framework for an informed food description.
A recipe for a description.
I like that. So if you're asked to describe a meal, try to hit 3 of these 4 categories in your response.
Okay, category 1, core taste flavor profile. So identify the dominant tastes. Is it savory? Is it sour? Is it bitter? And use those precise integrated adjectives like herbaceous or pungent.
Category 2, texture mouthfeel. Move beyond crunchy. Use words like velvety, brittle, crisp, chewy, or silken. Honestly, this is the easiest way to immediately sound like an expert.
Category 3, temperature, aroma, visual. Are you integrating your other senses? Is the dish steaming hot? Is the aroma fragrant or smoky?
And finally, category 4, duration, emotion, critique. How long does the flavor last? What does it make you feel? Is it clean, lingering, surprising, or comforting?
Okay, I think I have it.
Let's try a final complex dialogue practice using this framework. Imagine you're asked, what did you think of the new seafood platter?
Okay, I'll give the simple beginner answer first, just to show the failure.
Go for it.
It was good. I liked it.
Right. Vague, unhelpful. And here's the expert response, incorporating multiple categories. It was fascinating. The scallops were perfectly seared, crisp on the outside, but velvety within. The preparation was remarkably clean and bright, emphasizing the natural sweetness of the shellfish, leaving a satisfyingly short finish.
Wow, that is the goal. That is how you use language to show, not just tell.
Exactly. And we've spent this whole deep dive analyzing how we talk about food. But I have a final thought that kind of builds on this.
Okay.
If we use such generic language for pleasure-like, delicious, or good, does the limitation of our vocabulary actually limit our ability to experience that pleasure fully?
That's a compelling psychological question. By forcing ourselves to find a precise word, to identify the silken texture, the acerbic note, the earthy depth, we face our brain to pay closer attention.
And that could intensify the sensory experience itself.
It could.
So you should mull that over. Are you truly tasting the food, or are you just using the first word that comes to mind? Our mission today was to give you the tools to break out of that linguistic laziness. We have completed our deep dive into the language of flavor and texture today, Thank you so much for joining us and exploring the sophisticated nuances of food vocabulary.
We covered a lot.
We did. We covered the inadequacy of delicious, the crucial difference between taste and flavor, and we equipped you with terms for viscosity, turgidity, and preparation methods.
We are happy you practiced this complex material with us. Remember, knowledge is most valuable when you understand it and apply it.
Yes, and we encourage you to continue this practice after the deep dive finishes.
Mm-hmm.
Think about the last thing you ate. Describe it using 3 of the new English words you learned today. Was it braised? Was it fragrant? Did it have a lingering finish?
Say the sentence out loud to yourself. Don't just write it, speak it.
Yes. That daily application is what converts knowledge into fluency. Try to apply this analysis when you eat dinner tonight.
Tell a friend, the soup is incredibly velvety.
Practice every day, just a little bit. Practice your informed listening, your precise speaking. This helps you build knowledge step by step.
Learning complex analysis takes time, but every deep dive you listen to makes you better informed.
My co-host and I will return soon for more deep dives and learning sessions. We'll find new topics and new layers of analysis for you to explore.
We will.
Before we go, do not forget to like this program, subscribe to the deep dive, and share it with everyone you know who loves gaining knowledge quickly.
If you found this content useful, please tell a friend.
Thank you again for being here with us.
Goodbye, friends. Practice your descriptions.
Goodbye to you. We will talk again next time.
Bye.
Goodbye.